All right, welcome everyone to the AI Research Roundup. I'm your host Alex, and today we're diving into a fascinating article by Google Research titled From Diagnosis to Treatment, Advancing AMIE for Longitudinal Disease Management, published March 6, 2025. This post details advancements in their AI system, AMIE, moving beyond diagnosis to actual disease management. The research shows AMIE can match or even exceed clinicians in managing patient cases over multiple visits, using clinical guidelines to plan investigations, treatments, and prescriptions. So this figure illustrates AMIE's multi-visit interaction process and underlying architecture. We see a graph tracking confidence in treatment approach over multiple patient visits. Interesting. Alongside that, we see the AMIE system itself, showing how it analyzes content, generates and refines responses, and critically, how it generates a management plan by leveraging clinical guidelines. This highlights the system's ability to integrate patient information with established medical knowledge for ongoing care. Okay, so building on that, this figure details how AMIE generates a management plan. We see it analyzes content, generates and refines a response. Then, using patient context and clinical guidelines, AMIE creates several draft management plans, culminating in a final, evidence-based plan. So it's not just reacting to patient information, it's actively integrating medical best practices into its decision-making process. Now, this figure shows AMIE's two-agent architecture. We have a dialogue agent, interacting directly with the patient, and a Middlesex or management reasoning agent. The MX agent uses a long-context LLM to retrieve and process clinical guidelines, creating and refining draft management plans. This two-pronged approach allows AMIE to handle the conversation while simultaneously developing an evidence-based plan. Well, this figure dives into the specifics of how AMIE generates these management plans, using a structured, evidence-based approach. On the left, we see how the system uses retrieved clinical guidelines and the current patient information as a prompt for its long-context LLM. The LLM then generates a JSON output, constrained by the guidelines, which feeds into the structured management plan. On the right, we see sections of that structured plan, including an analysis of the patient's case, management goals, and, crucially, the specific investigations ordered, all with citations linking back to the original guidelines. So, the system is transparently showing its work, which is important for building trust and understanding its decision-making. So this figure outlines the structure of the multi-visit OSCE study used to evaluate AMIE. We see simulated patients interacting with both AMIE and human PCPs over 3 visits, with 2-day intervals. Importantly, both AMIE and the PCPs had access to the same clinical guidelines, and the results were then evaluated by specialist physicians, blinded to whether the management plan came from AMIE or a PCP. This rigorous, blinded approach allows for a fair comparison of AMIE's performance against established clinicians in a longitudinal care setting. And finally, these results compare AMIE's performance to human PCPs across multiple visits. We see AMIE perform similarly, or even better in some areas, like treatment precision. Importantly, AMIE demonstrates consistent adherence to clinical guidelines throughout the simulated patient interactions, highlighting its ability to integrate medical best practices into its longitudinal management approach. Okay, so this figure further explores AMIE's performance on key management reasoning metrics. It breaks down preferences from both specialist physicians and patient actors across multiple visits. We see AMIE consistently performs well in areas like shared decision-making, relationship fostering, and, importantly, prioritizing patient preferences and values. This suggests that AMIE isn't just generating technically sound plans, but also considering the patient's perspective, crucial for real-world application. Finally, this figure demonstrates AMIE's medication reasoning skills, using a benchmark called RxQA. We see AMIE's performance compared to PCPs, both with and without access to reference materials, what they call open book versus closed book. AMIE performs quite well, even exceeding PCPs in the open book lower difficulty category. This strong showing on RxQA suggests a solid understanding of medication information and guidelines, further strengthening its potential for real-world clinical application. This final segment summarizes the key advancements of AMIE, this AI system designed for longitudinal disease management. So the article highlighted AMIE's ability to not just diagnose, but also manage diseases over time, matching or even exceeding the performance of human clinicians in simulated multi-visit consultations. A key takeaway is the system's strength in integrating and reasoning over clinical guidelines, ensuring treatment plans are evidence-based and patient-centered. All right, thanks for tuning in to the AI Research Roundup.